Man, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. But this video is going to be covering the topic of type soul dying. So currently on YouTube, like I woke up and I checked my YouTube feed and I'm just getting suggested a lot of videos saying type soul's dying or why type soul is dying. And I honestly feel like I'm leaning more on the side of it not dying, and I'm actually going to be explaining why. But I also do want to talk about the other perspective of Type Soul actually dying. So to get into that, the reasons as to why I feel like people are saying that Type Soul is dying or Type Soul just isn't as good as it used to be is because there's nothing to do. There's nothing. There's actually nothing to do. Because currently, I spent 2 days fighting my Blood Bankai and I actually beat it. But once you come to the end game and you actually do the raids, you get your Bankai, your Volt, your Res, what do you do inside the game? Like, there's not really anything besides coming on for your 1 hour cooldown when it's off, popping it, PvP, and I guess having fun. But even that will get boring in time because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. I feel like this is probably the lead argument for why people are saying that the game is dying. And there's a lot of other issues too, like lack of balancing. Maybe some Bankai fights just seem impossible, or there's just like a specific skill tree that's insanely overpowered. And when they catch you, it's like 1-on-1. Like, there's multiple instances that you can involve to the game dying, but I feel like it's more easy to save rather than die. And I'm also inside of like my little J. Cole era where I'm trying to promote positivity, and I feel like this game actually can not come back because the game is still up, but I do feel like the game can be saved. I think a lot of people don't really understand the impact that this game is probably going to leave on different games from other developers, because this game is solely PvP based and it was able to consistently average 20k players for like a whole entire week straight off of just the PvP inside the game. What this goes to show is that if a game creates a very good combat system, you will have a really good amount of players and they will stick around no matter what. And I'm not going to say no matter what as in like, oh, let's say that you had a super duper mega gun and it just one-shots players. They're obviously not going to stick around for that. But this game goes to show that if you just could perfect your craft to the point where it's like, alright, people see that this game has very good combat, so they continuously play this game for the combat, then you will see the numbers for your game actually go up. So, with the combat of this game being very good, what's the best way to continue having the game live on? Introduce more modes where the combat is viable. Now, I definitely do feel like the devs are starting to notice that there is a dip in players, and the fact that Type Soul Battlegrounds released an average 5k goes to also show that people like this game because of the combat, and when you're giving them the opportunity to use everything, it's like, alright, they see that game where you can use everything, and it's the same combat, why not play it if I like the combat and I don't have to mindlessly grind for it? Now, this game used to be a CC game, which is why the grind inside of it is probably this tedious, and then it just became public. I don't want to say that making the grind a little bit less tedious would entirely fix the whole entire issue, but maybe just add a raid queue system so that you can easily complete your 175 raids in like 3 days at most. You don't want to have to look at the timesheet or have a timesheet and then hop raids, hope that the raids actually go inside the server. It's just very annoying. It's not really productive for the players because they're just going to be doing this, eventually get bored and just come off the game because everybody wants to get their Bankai, Res, or Volt, but nobody wants to spend like a whole week trying to do it doing raids. And I know that the players who have done it, including myself, probably don't think it's that easy because like the main thing that you're going to be doing inside the raids is fighting, and the combat is the best part of the raid. So you're fighting and getting to play the really good combat. It's just that the downside is the raids. And I personally would rather have a raid queue system because it would just make things go so much faster. And I do feel like it would actually help to lead some of the player base back. But the main thing or highlight of this video is just going to be mainly focused on the combat. The combat should be the main focus of the game if you want the players to come back, because the combat is what made the players stay inside the first place. And when I say mainly focusing on the combat, what I am mainly trying to say is there should be new maps or just like new modes. Maybe add like a 5v5 mode where it's on a small scale, where everybody has their max, like their build at their max potential, and you're able to just fight each other in like a team battle with your friends, or you could just make it queue with randoms. Add a rank mode, which would be very simple. Rank mode is not as entirely good because that would just get boring very fast. but just add more team modes where you're able to use your builds at the max potential, and then you could have like the main game as a separate thing. The main reason as to why I'm saying this and allowing everybody to use their builds at the max potential, so that even if they don't have it in like the actual main game, they would still play it, is because that's what people want inside the game. They want to be able to play it, and I know that it is better to put inside the time because it does feel like it feels like it's more rewarding when you actually get it yourself. I don't think that's a good trade-off for losing your players, keeping the grind hard, or just making the game continuously have a very quote-unquote tedious grind to the point where you're losing all your players. Because the game did used to be CC, yes, but it released public for a reason, and if it's releasing public and the players are dipping and you know how to fix it, from seeing Type Soul Battlegrounds have 5k players, then I think that there's not any reason to not add that towards the game. It would literally just be positive for the developers, and there definitely would be more people salty because they put inside the grind to get all this, and somebody who's just playing the game for fun could just use the same thing. But at the same time, the person who put inside the grind for it is going to have more experience because they obviously had it longer and they know what they're doing, versus the person who's just playing the game trying to have fun. And this is also where different modes come in. You have a casual match where everybody can get their max potential build and just queue up in 1v1s and fight. Or you can have ranked matches where you fight with your actual build that you have from the main game. Like I said, you can have the team modes where people are at their max potential. So let's say it's just a group of friends who want to play the game and use their bankais. You don't have to wait an hour cooldown to just pop your bankai with your friend inside of 5v5 game mode and just have fun. It could literally just be Art of Soul on a smaller scale, on a smaller map, with a teams mode based. Like it's very easy. Each team or each person on the team has 2 socks, and you can use your bankai each life, and it's just a 5v5, and the winning team gets a reward. Actually, this also leads into something else. There should be better rewards, like more stuff that's worthy instead of just blue pills and shikari rolls. But if you like win inside the ranked modes, you get rewards like that's coming from a pool of blue pills, shikari rolls, and maybe new reward weapons, and maybe new item drops like Aizen's foot massager and stuff like that. I just feel like this game really is going to leave a very good impact for like other developers inside the community, because it's showing you if you have good combat, you will have a really nice amount of players. And if the game is able to perfect like the balance between combat and player versus environment, so PvE, then I feel like it would create a really good game. But specifically for Type Soul, it's the combat that is making the players constantly come back to this game. So obviously to fix it, you would have to look into the combat and see how you can expand it. Now, I'm recording this video before Senmon Sakura comes out, and I don't feel like the Senmon Sakura update is going to fully fix the problems or just solve the problems for this game, which is the players leaving. But I think it might be a good start because we don't know what else is going to be added with it. If we keep following the update schedule, where you just receive some bit of content, some minor nerfs and balances, and then we just let the game go back to how it is, I don't think that the game is really going to survive that long. And all the people who are saying that, oh, the game's going to die inside a month, are actually going to be proven right. But even though I probably slightly lean more with them on the game dying, I would rather want the game to like succeed, because Type Soul actually is a pretty good game. If you're setting aside the terrible rates, the broken stuff, and the player base. It's a lot to set aside, but pretty much I feel like I got my point across, and I actually want to know what you think, because I feel like most of the player base is probably leaning more on the side of the game's just getting dried out. Even content creators like Infernasu are saying that it's boring because there's literally just nothing to do once you get your bankai. Absolutely nothing at all. So yeah, I'm probably gonna also upload a video on like Peroxide, maybe like a progression for Arankar, because it's a game that's coming out on the 18th. So if you're interested in more Bleach content, because it seems like summer is just time for Bleach games right now, feel free to subscribe, because that will most likely be my next video. But outside of that, hopefully you did enjoy this video, and I actually do want to know your thoughts on the whole entire Type Soul game dying situation. And outside of that, yeah, thanks for watching, and make sure that you get blood. Bankai. Yeah.